Dungeons and Dragons, originally published in 1974, is the world's best-selling tabletop role-playing game, which changed the face of tabletop games forever. The original game was a variation on the traditional wargaming rules that gave players control over a single hero instead of controlling an entire military faction. Never before had a game like this been envisioned. It didn't take long for the game to take off, become massively popular, spawning numerous similar games based off of this format. Eventually, it expanded into all forms of interactive media. Many of today's modern video games are still based on the foundation of Dungeons and Dragons. As the years have progressed, and the game has gone from a small production made by a few dedicated creators to being one of the flagship properties of one of the largest games companies in the world, the players have changed as well. No longer are games held in dark basements with socially awkward boys sitting around a table. Instead, games can be found in bookstores and libraries, on the internet, broadcasted for hundreds of thousands of people. Yes, you will still find games set in basements of players, but now it's done for atmospheric and aesthetic reasons, instead of an attempt to conceal the passions of the players. Not only has the location and the visibility of the game changed over time, but the makeup of the table has changed as well. No longer is it dominated by the stereotypical nerds, but now you'll often find a vast spectrum of players gathering around the table to explore characters they themselves have created. From movie stars to the local grocery store clerk, computer engineers to English majors. Dungeons and Dragons has embraced each and every player in the effort to tell their own fantastical story. This change has been noted by many players as well. Michael Patton, a longtime dungeon master, had this to say about the change that he has seen over his career in Dungeons and Dragons. When I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons, it was pretty much a taboo game that was an all-boys club. By the time I started high school in the early 1990s, it was something that most people had not even heard of. Or, if they had, it was something that total nerds did. Due to this stigma, I'd stopped playing by the end of the freshman year, since I saw it as a deterrent to dating. I started playing again in college during the late 90s, and only because my then girlfriend found my own books and suggested we could try playing with our mutual friends. By the early 2000s, the stigma was much less, and while our game groups were often a good mix of men and women, when we went to conventions it was still a mostly all men's affair, and personal hygiene was still often a neglected virtue. I remember taking my current girlfriend to one, and we had to leave early since she was being constantly harassed by the other gamers, who could not get that she was not there looking for a date. With the rise of social media, gaming and gamers have gone mainstream, and lost the stigma and allowed women to see that there were other women gamers out there. Now, my groups are more diverse, and when I visit my local gaming store or gaming conventions, I see a much more diverse and better washed crew. The rise of social media has had a profound effect on the tabletop genre in general, and Dungeons and Dragons in particular. With the thanks to streaming systems such as YouTube and Twitch, Dungeons and Dragons have been able to reach a new audience. Now, people who are interested in Dungeons and Dragons, but isolated due to geography, have the chance and opportunity to engage in these epic tales that are created through this gaming system. One of the largest and most well-known D&D live streams is Critical Role.
Hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Critical Role, where a bunch of us nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons. Like that, every time.
This group of voice actors are first and foremost friends, who have invited the rest of us to join them every week at their table to follow along with their adventures. The rising popularity of Dungeons and Dragons has not gone unnoticed by the general public. It seems that every month there's a new collaboration between D&D and other bodies of media. One of the most well-known inclusions of D&D in mass media is the Netflix show Stranger Things, where the kids in the show oftentimes ascribe D&D monsters' names to the beasts in the show. The fans of D&D are a force into and of themselves as well. In early 2019, the cast of Critical Role wanted to create a 30-minute animated special featuring their original party, Vox Machina. only asking for $750,000 to crowdfund their project. The fans of the show, affectionately known as Critters, responded in full force over the next 45 days and went on to raise over $11.3 million in funding for a total of 10 episodes.
Okay. Yeah.
As of November 2019, the show is still in the early stages of production, but has already been picked up by Amazon.com to fund a second season, bringing the total number of episodes to 24. Dungeons & Dragons is more than a game. This is an adventure that you can embark on with friends, whether it be at your own table or with thousands of other fans through the power of the internet. So, if you're so inclined, let's make a character, and let's roll for initiative.